Hello, everyone. This week we take a look at Chapter 2, Contextual Influences on Compensation Practice. Let's go ahead and take a look at the lesson folder. You'll see different learning outcomes. I do want to talk about pay differentials and what the chapter will focus on. They're going to talk about wage pay differentials. So, what does that even mean? Differentials means differences, right? And then wage means pay. So, pay difference is based on the industry. So an HR professional with 2 to 3 years experience, for instance, might make more in the tech industry versus retail. Right? You'll also look at pay differentials based on the occupational characteristics, meaning the responsibilities of the job. You might have, again, an HR professional, 2 to 3 years experience, but based on the requirements of the job at one company, it might pay more compared to another. Again, not mind blowing stuff here, but things to think about. And then the last is geographic pay differentials. This is an easy one. If you're an HR professional, you work for a company that has offices both in Arkansas and New York City, same job, the person in Arkansas will probably make a lot less than the person in New York City just based on their geographic location. In addition, you'll find videos below, articles. These are all optional. I think these are important to watch though, because they will help you with the understanding of the material for the week. So they're only a couple minutes in length. Certainly take a look at those. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's due. You have your Chapter 2 quiz due. Oh, in addition to those pay differentials, sorry, you'll learn about a lot about different laws. Um, this is a really good chapter to look at all the different laws that relate to compensation practice. Just to let you know, there are over 300 different employment laws that affect businesses. Yes, 300. Uh, as far as compensation laws specifically, you'll look at those in this chapter. But as an HR professional, whether you're a compensation professional or just an HR generalist, you'll need to know all of those 300 different laws. And so employment law is a very important class to take if you haven't taken it already. It's Business 217. You'll certainly learn all about these laws and more in depth in that class. Quite a few to learn. All right, so we have the written assignment that is due this next Monday, the 30th, as well. And so this one's, just kind of eases you into the information that we've been learning so far. So let's take a look at the assignment requirements first and then the questions. So the assignment requirement, you can go ahead and read that. Most of it's pretty self-explanatory. One thing I want to point out is there should be at least 100 words for each question. It should be a full paragraph. The questions that I'm asking, I think warrant at least a full paragraph. When we go through them, you'll understand why, but you should have no problem hitting 100 words for each question. And now, of course, these are your own words. Um, Cutting and pasting out of the book is not, first of all, it's plagiarism. It'll get you a 0. Make sure that you're processing the information and then putting that information into your own words. All right, let's take a look at these questions. So there are 4 questions. The first 2 make you refer back to Chapter 1, and then the last 2 are for Chapter 2. So Chapter 1 talks about a lot of different things. So the first question says there are 3 main elements of the compensation system. There's internal consistency, market competitiveness, and recognizing employee contributions. It's a section in Chapter 1. You'll find it, no problem, I promise you. My question to you is, are they equally important? Or do you believe that there are differences of importance? You might want to go ahead and talk about what's the most important out of these 3. Which one is the least important? And then give your rationale. So again, what probably best to do is define each of these in your own words. And then once you define each of these in your own words, which one do you think is most important? That should be a sentence or 2. And then least important, that's a good sentence or 2 as well. So you should have no problem hitting that 100 mark there. Question 2 talks about what are the similarities and differences between pay focused, incentive pay, and merit pay. So there is a section in the text that talks about these things and what are the advantages and disadvantages of each. Go ahead and look that information up. Please don't cut and paste it out of the textbook. Again, that's plagiarism. Put it into your own words and then just explain the role of performance appraisals in the merit program. Question 3 and 4 is from Chapter 2. And so it talks about the minimum wage at $7.25 an hour, and should the federal government raise this minimum wage? So different states have different laws. So it's $7.25 across the board. That's the minimum. And then states and local municipalities can always pay more if they want to. It's kind of how our federal law works. The federal law is always the minimum threshold. And then states, how we have states' rights and different things, states and local municipalities can always enact laws to support their local community. as long as it meets the minimum requirement of the federal law. So that's the difference between federal and state laws. Just so you kind of know that. So should the minimum wage be raised? Why or why not? How is this going to affect businesses, consumers? Well, I think we all can see that a lot of the wages have increased since the pandemic. Prior to the pandemic, 7.25, $10 an hour, between 7.25 and $10, $11 an hour is kind of the standard around here. Uh, since the pandemic, though, I can tell you a lot of things, a lot of wages have been raised. How has that impacted us? How has that impacted business? And then in turn, how is that impacting us? All right, question 4 talks about the fact sheet. So please take a look at this fact sheet. You'll find it here in the assignment. And then if you scroll up, it's also up there. It's that important. You also have a mini project due regarding this fact sheet in the future, not this week, but in a few weeks. You will have another assignment that talks about this, just because I feel it's that important to understand when you classify employees as exempt or non-exempt. So you'll learn about what exempt means. The textbook does a good job. Take a look at the fact sheet, though. Hint, hint. I think the fact sheet does a much better job explaining it easily and more concisely. Long story short, there are very few occasions where a person can be exempt from overtime. So here's the rule of thumb as an HR professional: pay everyone an hourly wage, pay them overtime, and if they qualify for the exemption, then they could be paid a salary and be exempt from overtime. So that's what exempt and non-exempt means. When an employee is exempt, they're exempt from overtime, which means they're a salaried employee. So they get paid $50,000 a year no matter how much they work. A non-exempt employee is an hourly waged employee, and they get paid overtime. And so there are very few instances where an employee can be paid a salary. Most of the jobs that we have in this country need to be paid an hourly wage. Now, there are some exceptions, and that's where that fact sheet comes in. There are, I think, 4 or 5 different times when you are allowed to pay someone a salary. For instance, if they're a manager, a business manager, or they have different jobs depending on their role. IT professionals fall under this exemption as well. So go ahead and read about that. The fact sheet should only take you about 5 to 10 minutes to read, and I will promise you it will not only help you with this question number 4, but will also help you with your mini project that is due as well. Let's talk a little bit about how it should be formatted. So there should be 4 separate paragraphs, uh, one for each question. I have no problem if you want to cut and paste the question and then write right underneath that. That makes it easy on me to grade. It also makes it, more importantly, it makes it easy on you to grade, or excuse me, for you to grade. It makes it easy for you to write because you are focused on just that question. So go ahead and cut and paste over, and then write your question or your answer right underneath. It allows you to stay focused and making sure that you're answering all of those different questions, because typically question 1, for instance, has 2 or 3 sub questions within it. Same thing with question 2. So I'm asking you a lot of different questions within each question. And if you cut and paste it over, you'll be able to stay focused and see that you've answered all of those little sub questions underneath. All right. Have a great week, everyone. Please reach out if you have any questions. Thank you so much.